Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I cannot believe I'm actually saying this, but this, my dear friends, my listeners and followers and subscribers, is volume 11, episode 11 of Wellbeing with Seamus. And I'm delighted today to have an amazing friend, an amazing colleague, a true one-off in terms of a true special person on my episode today, and I'll tell you a little bit about her in a second. Just, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who have listened to my podcast, who have sent my comments and given me some feedback, who continue to inspire me, who continue to drive me, continue to just give me so much energy back from these episodes. And thank you for your comments and feedback. If for any reason you don't know about this podcast series, that you've not heard about it, that people haven't told you about it.
How is that possible?
How is that possible? It's called Wellbeing with Seamus. It's available on YouTube and it's available on the Spotify channel. Please follow, please link, and please continue to comment. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else around the world today, let me just introduce to you my amazing friend, my amazing colleague, who has an amazing story to tell, who not only tells the tale, but has actually written a really amazing book called Unsuccessfully Successful. And I am delighted to welcome to Wellbeing with Seamus this afternoon, the amazing, the one-off, Donna Star. Donna, you are absolutely welcome to Wellbeing with Seamus, and thank you for giving me your precious time in order to record this episode with me this afternoon.
I am so happy to be here. And, for anybody listening, and we didn't discuss that I was going to do this, I met you maybe a year ago, I want to say, right?
Yeah.
And we set up a Zoom call, and it was like an instant connection. And the thing I love about you, and why I think people should listen to your podcast, is that you are one of the most authentic people online and offline. There's no difference, really. So there are a lot of people out there talking about the things that we're going to talk about today, but you feel them deeply in your soul, and your story, which I know you'll write a book about, blew me away. But the generosity that you give to others, even before you did the podcast, was just, you took the time to read my book. You took the time to get to know me. You take the time to comment on other people's work. You are so authentic and so real, and we need so much more of that. And the fact that you are doing this podcast and really believe in the well-being of people out of love, it shines through in everything you do.
Absolutely. And likewise, my friend, let's just love this up in terms of a love fest. I love the work that you do. I love your story. I think you're absolutely amazing in terms of what you've come through personally and professionally to be where you are today. And you're a true inspiration to so many. And I am so delighted, so honored, and so humbled to have you on my podcast.
Yeah, I'm happy. This is like on my schedule. I'm like, I can't wait to talk to you. Even if no one listened, just the fact that we get to talk is fun.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's
Right?
great.
Yes.
And one of the things that really inspires me is the fact that we can use this technology in this way, right? You are in what part of the USA, Donna?
I'm in the East Coast of the US, like near Boston and New York.
You're in the East Coast, right? I'm on the northwest side of the UK at the moment, a little town called Manchester. You might know it, right? So bordering those times and space and time zones, we can actually connect on a platform and have this conversation that was like two friends sitting down in a coffee shop having a coffee.
I know, it is amazing, right? And pre-COVID, I'm not sure that those sort of connections were as easy to make, even though they existed. I think we just saw that time and space really don't matter in terms of relationships.
No, absolutely not. It goes beyond time and space, which is absolutely incredible. Donna, the reason why I'm here today is and the reason why we're sitting having this chat is I want as many people across the world, across this beautiful planet of ours, that we should be so precious of and we should be so careful of, to get to know you as much as I know you as an individual. So for my listeners, followers, subscribers out there, share a little bit about who you are, Donna, who you are now. Who are you?
So I've changed this statement over time. It seems like such a simple statement. And for anybody listening, I challenge you in a beautiful way to answer this question for yourself, because
Yeah.
this is where it all starts from, right? I
Yeah.
used to say I was a corporate executive, and I'm like, why did I start with that? I'm a mom, right? Like, who cares what I do for a living? That doesn't
Yeah.
define me as a human. But I got caught in that trap, which is why I wrote the book. No plug there. But I'm a mom. I'm a
Yeah.
friend. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a coach. I'm a writer and a former corporate executive. So what I do for a living
Yeah.
is so far down the end of the line for me now in terms of how I define myself.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you've written a beautiful plug. Here comes the plugs, and I'm going to plug out something fierce and something powerful because it's an amazing book, and it's through that book that we made our initial connection because I wanted to get to know you. I wanted to get to know the person behind this beautiful book that you've written called Unsuccessfully Successful. What's the book about, Donna?
Yeah, I mean, I started to write bi-weekly when I became a coach 5 years ago because I hired a coach, because coaches also need coaches.
Yeah.
And I hired a coach. He said, you should write. And then it really became cathartic for me to start writing. And then someone said, you should write a book. And then I met this wonderful woman, Hannah Austin, like I met you. And she said, I'm in this book writing group. And she did the cohort before me. And then I met with Eric Custer. I want to give him a plug. And from a program called Manuscripts. And he's like, yeah, I like your idea. Originally, my book was going to be called Say It Like It Is, silly, a little play on words, because I don't think we have enough joy and silliness. Well, joy's separate than silliness, so I'll keep them separate. But being silly, like I took myself so enormously seriously in my corporate job. And a week or two, maybe a month before it published, I had to write a bio. I mean, it's really difficult to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
And I wrote Donna Star was unsuccessfully successful for over 30 years in corporate. I was like, huh. And then my editor came back and said, I like that line. And so I just right then and there decided to change the name of my book to Unsuccessfully Successful.
Wow.
So that, I mean, that is when you know the universe is working in your favor, because I didn't ask 100 people, what do you think? You know how you get in those modes when you're like, I'm thinking of like buying the red dress. What do you think? And how do you think this looks? I didn't ask a single person other than my editor. I just did it. So I knew that, and that's what spoke to me. So anyway, I wrote a little bit about my corporate career, and then my life, you know, my dad died during the time I was writing my book.
Yeah.
My relationship, 22-year relationship, ended while I was writing the book, or was in the
Yeah.
throes of. So I had a lot of these beginning, endings, and reflection on my corporate career. And then it just, so it's like pre-corporate, during corporate, and post-corporate. So I wanted to give the full scale that change is possible because I've done it.
Yeah,
You
100%.
know, a lot of people that are not believers, and let me know if I'm going on too long, will say, does anybody really change? We're human beings, we're wired. Yes, we can.
We can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean our personality changes. So this book is about my journey to balance. I mean, I was completely out of whack in my corporate career to the point where I wasn't able to digest food at the end of my corporate career. My body had given out every which way, and I wasn't listening. And finally, I wasn't able to digest like normal food.
Yeah.
So I had to make a change.
Yeah. So tell me about that corporate career. How did it, in the worst possible way, get so bad for you? What was going on? What was
Yeah, so that's such
right and what was so wrong?
First of all, I had a very amazing career. I had a company that believed in me. I left. I gave my notice 5 times, came back, and I only left twice, and I came back both times.
Yeah.
So it was like my family, my dysfunctional family. So it really wasn't the company, although the company was very entrepreneurial, very hard charging, 24/7. Whoever gets to the email first won, you know, that sort of like always on culture. And that I'm very driven, and I move quickly, I talk fast, like it fed the best parts of me, but our greatest strengths are also our weaknesses.
Yeah.
And so if I wasn't constantly being fueled, if I wasn't busy, if I wasn't getting some recognition, I could go dark very quickly and beat myself up like nobody's business. So if I lost an account, or I could really torture myself, literally, like self-flagellation was like, I was like an A plus. So a lot of that stemmed from my own sense of worthiness. So I don't actually blame the company.
Okay.
They gave me so many opportunities. I ran the biggest account in the world. I ran offices. I was a turnaround specialist. I excelled. I had great relationships, but for the most part, there are a few people I didn't. But overall, I'm a relationship person. That's probably my greatest strength.
You are.
But I didn't feel good enough about myself inside. And I didn't even know how to fix that. I didn't know that that was fixable until I became a coach, which was by happenstance. Someone just said, hey, so I gave my notice when my daughter was graduating college. I said, it's my time. I cannot withstand this anymore. And it was just the end for both of us. So my company was happy to let me go. They didn't ask me to leave. And when I went to day one of my coaching program, I cried. Like, I could not believe the epiphanies I had on day one in my coaching program, which was at IPAC, and an 8-month program, and really an amazing program. And I was like, huh, it doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah.
So when I coach people, it's always the alignment. Is your inside match your outside? Yeah. And for me, my inside 100,000% did not match my outside, which doesn't mean my corporate career wasn't good. It just means that I didn't feel good enough about myself, and I needed to do that work.
Yeah. So it was,
and that's this book kind of walks through that.
Yeah, and your book is quite powerful because it gets into the nitty-gritty of I suppose, as I understand it, the dynamics that you were displaying as a corporate executive, how that finished, and you really got to know yourself in a new way, and really got in touch with who you really were as a human being first, right?
Yeah, and I never spent any time on that. I had gone to therapy. My mom died when I was young. My dad died, during the book, but 40 years apart. But I never spent time on, why do I believe I'm not enough?
Yeah.
What is driving that? That's really the central question, is enoughness or worthiness. Why do people not have boundaries? We talk a lot about boundaries and psychological safety and all of that, but a lot of that comes from how we self-manage.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we think we have to, the whole idea of people pleasing. You wouldn't feel the need to people please if you felt that you are more worthy. Some of people pleasing makes sense, but I think people do, backflips to try to, and contortionists to fit into some other expectations so that we can continue to get validation externally. But if you believe you're already enough, you don't seek that out nearly as much, which I know from your background.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I was the master people pleaser for 24, 25, 26 years of my life until, one day it was gone and I found myself back to square one. In some in the same way as you did, Donna, in terms of, coming to coaching and going on a journey of self-exploration that I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was about rediscovering who Donna really was.
Yeah, it is. And why I did the things I did, and really diving deep into staying in I had a loving relationship for 22 years, but I settled. There were things that, I don't want to disparage him because I still love him, but the bottom line is I wasn't getting my needs met. And so and relationships have a balance, right? Like you can't get everything. You just have, your menu. But I think I really learned about myself. So to leave your job, sell your house, lose your father, I moved 2 hours away. I didn't know anybody where I moved. I made so many changes, and mostly I changed myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Which in turn then turned into an amazing experience of not only knowing yourself, but being able to use that new guidance, that new intuition, that new power and self-empowerment that you have in order to give that to other people, to share that with other people, to share your light, as it were. And we've spoken about light already, and I believe those of us who work in this area of human facilitation and human guidance and human signposting, we are like human sat navs, right?
Right, we are.
You know, that are plugged into the power of the universe, that we are kind of used as conduits to support people to be the best version of themselves that they can be. So if they find themselves stuck, we help them to get out of the mud in the same way that you got out of the mud. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, totally. I think most people that come to coaching in some way, shape, or form are stuck, even if their company's paying and they're, want to get to the next level. They might have a belief system that keeps them saying, well, this is the best I can do, or I'm not good enough for the next version, or I don't have the skills. So you're right. I mean, you and I, we provide space for people, and we are connected to something deeper than ourselves.
Yeah.
It's hard to define that. I think you and I talked about that. You have the spirituality bent. I mean, for people that don't know you, I hope they know that your story was that you were probably the shortest. You are like in the US. Do you follow US politics at all?
Yeah.
So Anthony Scaramucci was Trump's chief of staff for what, 11 days? How long were you a monk for?
I was 15 months in. Yeah, I was about 15 months in, yeah.
Yeah, so that's longer than Scaramucci, but it's short tenure for a monk.
It's short for a priest, yeah. It really is short for a priest.
For priest,
particularly when you give your whole life over to it,
Right, because that's like a thing. Yeah. So, so I know you have that spiritual connection to something bigger than you. And I think you do have to suspend. There is a suspended belief in a coaching session, right? Like, I don't know how else to say it. And so I know that you have that in spades. And I feel like I do too, not because I was a corporate executive. Yes, because of that, because I also believe in there's more to it. There's more at foot.
We speak and we speak quite a lot, and we share quite a lot about the magic of what we do.
The magic,
and there's a pure sense of magic in what we do when you create a safe space for people to allow them explore where they are, but also where they want to be. But not only that, you not only talk the talk with them, but you also walk the walk, because you put a clear plan in place, you put a clear bit of guidance in place, you put a clear, you almost punch it into the universal sat nav, and this is my destination, this is where I want to go, but these are the steps I got to take in order to get there, right? And that's what we do. So it's about working the program. How does your program work for you on a daily basis? What have you learned through writing this book and being on this journey, Donna?
Well, I mean, writing the book was about consistency, so I feel like any new habit, and obviously the James Clear and there's Mel Robbins, they talk about consistency, and I don't know that people actually understand that that's really the metric for success is consistency.
Yeah.
So I would say the book made me much more diligent in terms of, if you want to do something, you actually have to make the time to do something.
Yeah.
I don't have a magic bullet here, and that's really the key for me and for my clients. The other thing that I spend time on, that's pragmatic. That's just the work. But the other work is what's going on here in your head.
Yeah.
Because is that fighting what you're trying to execute? My guess is yes. Right? Like you're letting this affect any movement forward or progress. So unless we rejigger what's going on up here, the other stuff doesn't matter because it's short term.
100%.
Yeah. So that's the intangible. And I think where the real magic happens. It's not about getting you to write 10 minutes a day. It's not getting you to apply for a new job or have different conversations. All that's the output, but it starts here.
Yeah, it starts with a thought, doesn't it? And if your thoughts are aligned to your mission and vision, and we spoke about clearing stuff out, and we've and some of us get caught in the energy, and some of us get caught up in the process. But sometimes we need space and time away to clear that energy. And part of, I know, your practice and my practice is that, look, when we're around people all the time, and when we're in that zone, sometimes it's okay to be on our own as well, right?
It is. So like, I'm not sure I really answered your question the way that maybe a listener would appreciate, which is, what's my program? If somebody comes to work with me, I don't have a cookie cutter program. I have some cookie cutter pieces so that I have like an ROI document. I have some questions, standard stuff that I ask, but it's not very standardized. I don't know how you feel about that, but I kind of follow the energy of, like, you can come to me, like, can I give you an example?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So somebody comes to me and says, because I have 30 something years in talent acquisition, I don't necessarily call myself a career coach, and they're like, I think I want to leave my job. And okay. But I never take that on face value. I take it on face value, but I poke around the main, I'm sure you do the same. And so this one woman came to me, she said, I think I want to leave my job. We're 5 sessions in, and I said, I just want to check back on your original goal. Do you still want to focus on looking elsewhere? And she said, no, I want to see it through. I want to see it through. Because we were changing the way she showed up. Because I said, while you're still in your job, how can you make it a little more palatable? You know, because you can't just snap your fingers and get a new job just because you want it to be so, especially in this economy. It's a little more difficult depending on the position. So I said, how can we show up differently every day? And that's what we've been working on. And it works. The work works when you do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And there's the secret sauce. You know, there's not a pill. There isn't a therapy. It's actually brass tacks down, plain speaking. This is what you got to do to get to where you need to be, right?
Right. So we will pick apart exactly. So she had this one client, I will say, that's very, very difficult. Never gives a compliment, always looking for the mistake. We've all worked with people like that. And I said, well, how do you respond? Her whole body goes into fight flight mode when she gets an email from the client, because she knows it's never going to be, hey, great job. It's going to be like on line 22 of page 806, you know. And so I said, well, what do you want to do about it? How do you want to show up a little bit differently? And she is. And she got 2 words from this client. The client was wrong, but telling a client they're wrong, or anybody they're wrong, is usually puts you at odds. So I said, well, how do you want to respond? She said, well, I want to just explain the truth without calling out her, saying her baby's ugly. She did that in a very nice way. And she got 2 words from the client. Got it, period. It was like the heavens opened for her.
Oh,
got it. It should be the title of her book, because it was, I'm not going to fight you on this, you're right. But the woman's never going to say that. You're right, or I was wrong, thank you for correcting me. So she did it in such a way, and she said it sort of changed their relationship, and she doesn't have that sort of trigger response. Now, this may sound oversimplified. It isn't. The way we show up, the way we communicate, the way we respond has everything to do with living a more balanced, joyful life.
Absolutely. And, and I suppose taking it back a step, when you were that corporate executive, and, when you worked all the hours that God gave, when you chased that email first, and when you won that first email, and when you won that client and won that office, and then managed that whole organization, various organizations you were involved in, you speak quite candidly in your book about your relationship with your own children and how they could see mommy working, flat out.
You're trying to make me cry? Are we having an Oprah moment here? Okay.
No, we're not. But it certainly moved me. It certainly moved me when I read it, right? And it's when you turn to your daughter at graduation and say, okay, that's me. I'm out. I'm going to go off and become a coach now. And it was an adjustment for them as well, right? To oh my God, finally have mom present in their lives. And not that you weren't present before, but you concentrated on provision, you concentrated on survival, you concentrated on, you know, providing for your kids and providing a home and providing a roof and providing food on the table and paying your bills and your utilities and doing what you needed to do, and it worked
It
to some
worked.
extent. It nearly killed you in the process.
It did nearly kill me in the process. Yeah, that was hard. And I didn't think I had any other choices. And the one thing we learned with coaching is there are always other choices.
There are.
You know, but when people are really mired in their, and by the way, I gave my notice 5 times. I left twice and came back. So I didn't believe, this is that whole belief system of worthiness. I was good there.
Yeah.
I was excelled. I mean, I was probably one of the top employees in the company. Even if they're listening, I think they would support that.
Yeah.
And the damage I did to my kids, like if I get a phone call today with my daughter, if we're out even today, and the phone rings and I'm going to get it, I can see hers tense up because she just wants me to be present with her.
Yeah.
And it's not that I didn't give my kids attention, but I was more distracted because I had much more in my mind. And I did the best I could, but I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, I made a lot of mistakes.
But absolutely, you know, but you know, it's we can either let our mistakes, right, weigh us down and pull us into darkness, or we can, as you and I have both done, say, look, we've made mistakes, right? We're human, okay? We did the best we could with what we had at the time. It may or not have been right, it may not have been proper, but we did what we could. But now we see life completely differently.
Right. And I hope that, as you know, when I left, my daughter graduated college and we traveled to Europe together. Thank God we did it then, because then COVID hit.
Yeah.
I hope that they've seen me change enough to know that they don't have to, neither of them has any interest in working the way that I did.
Yeah.
You know, I see my daughter shut her computer when the day is done. There's no always on situation going on. So I think the lesson I taught them is what they didn't want to be.
Yeah.
And so that's just as powerful as the other lesson. And, you know, I was a single mom. So I trying to prove yourself all the time will drive you crazy.
It will. It will. There's no two other words for it. It will drive you crazy.
You know, and my company, I really still don't fault them. I really don't. Like, I know a lot of people bash corporate and they're like, well, corporate needs to change. The thing is, even if a company changes at the CEO level and you have a bad manager, it doesn't always translate, right? It's still a relationship with yourself and a relationship with your team. And I think that's really where the power, like, I love that companies have these mission statements, but if it isn't executed all the way through an organization, you can still have a bad experience. We're humans.
Yeah.
So I just had the bad experience with myself. I mean, and I also have a value line, and I was crossed a few times at the company, some of the decisions they made. And that is, I think, when people really leave companies, is when their values are so compromised. You know, I mean, I don't talk about it in the book, but I had a gentleman that worked for me who drank too much and got me in trouble with a client. And when I red flagged it, nothing happened. And that really stuck with me. Look, I understand when the company made their decision, right? And knowledge capital, I don't fault them, but it was a line for me. And sometimes our lines don't marry up with the lines that our companies have. And that's just life. And then once you're compromised like that, I had to leave. I mean, that wasn't the only reason I left. It was time. But I think there's a lot of gray areas in corporate that we think that companies are going to solve. And I think we have to do the work. I don't think the companies are always capable of doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made any sense.
And we have to take on that level of responsibility to say that, well, enough is enough. And, you know, this is a red flag here that's flying, you know, in the breeze, and we need to check that out. I remember a similar situation, Done in my own career life, while you know, working full time and using my consultancy as a side hustle, as it were. I remember sitting in a particular meeting. I won't mention the particular organization or the particular chief executive for data protection, liability, and confidentiality reasons. But he came on the call on, you know, and it was during COVID, and he came on the call and said, look, he says, I don't mind if you want to work, if you want to switch on your laptop on Saturday morning or Sunday morning and take time away to do your work, right? And I remember my wife turned around to me, she said, you need to leave that company. Because a line had been crossed.
Right? That's the thing, is those lines are individual too, right? Another
Yeah.
person might have not responded that way. So that's why I said everybody has their own personal lines.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's been aware of those, and it's been becoming consciously aware of those, and coming to an awareness of those, that I think once you're aware, you know, as my wonderful friend Dana Star, and a shout out to both Dana and Angela, but she has this wonderful phrase, is that, you know, once you see grandma in her knickers, then you know, you can't go back from that, right?
Yeah, you can't ever go back, right? I love that. I might have to use that. That's so funny. Yeah, I know. You can't unsee it. Can't put the genie back in the bottle.
You can't, and
That's so true.
And that requires action then to be taken. And in your case, not only did you walk the walk and talk the talk, but you left corporate.
I did. I finally left, but I want to tell people, like, just because I left corporate,
yeah, the
timing worked for me. My second and last was graduating college, so my big financial nut. So I don't sit, and I know you read my LinkedIn posts on occasion, but I'm not sitting there, saying, leave your corporate job. It's our responsibility to find what works best for us.
Yeah.
And I think while we're on this planet, we only have one life. You know, I say that all the time, but like, what are we waiting for?
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you only have one life, you don't know if your life is going to be taken from you tomorrow or in 40 years. So don't you want to make the most of it?
100%.
But a lot of people take that for granted. They take their health for granted. I always have more time. We don't know that. So I think we owe it to ourselves. And I am a joyful person by nature. I think you know that. I like to smile. I like to have a good time. I like to be out in the world. Yeah. But it did rob me of my joy. How many days do you want to give away of the life you have? And if I sound like Pollyanna, that every day is great, I'm not that person either.
No.
Some days there are darkness, some hours are darkness, but we only have one life. Let's make the best of it.
Absolutely. And you're right. In the same way that you've guided your client to show up differently every day, we need to show up to ourselves first and foremostly every day, right?
Yes.
We do, yeah. But we're also acknowledging that some days we're not going to get it quite right. Some days it's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be fully perfect. And if you're chasing perfection, it's not going to happen, because you're going to be disappointed, right?
Well, that's another, I have a problem, and we haven't talked about this, but I'm curious what your take is. So a lot of corporate or life is about goal setting. And I sort of have a problem with the word goals, unless we're playing hockey or soccer or football. It's black and white. Either you score the goal or you don't. And I think that like didactic nature is difficult for people, because and this is an example, it's a bad one. If you are on a diet and you lose 10 pounds, you want to lose 10, but you lose 8. Shouldn't we celebrate that you did the work to lose the 8, as opposed to thinking you're a failure because you didn't get 10? 100%. So I think the word goal is a trap.
Yeah. Yeah. I think goal for me is a self-limiting belief, because if you don't achieve it, you're going, what's the first thing you're going to do? I'm crap, right? I haven't achieved the goal. Yeah, I may not have lost 10 pounds, but I've lost 8. And you're absolutely right. We should celebrate the 8 and not the 10. We should celebrate.
But if you set a goal, it's either pass fail. And I don't want to do pass fail in life. I want to reward you. So one of the first things, and I don't know, you asked about my program, but a lot of what I do with my clients is actually make them sit down and write their accomplishments. And first they start with 3 or 4, and then I'm like, so you turned around this employee and you're not putting that on your list? The things that come easy to us, I don't know about you, but relationships are my thing, right? No. So I wasn't great with spreadsheets. So I used to say, well, I'm not as good as so-and-so because I don't do spreadsheets as well. I used to totally negate my strengths because they came easily to me. Now I realize those are just gifts. Lean into that. Lean into the stuff. But
absolutely.
I didn't for way too long. So I think it's really critical for anybody listening, and I think you'll agree that we all have accomplishments. Let's start recognizing them. And that's how you build resilience. That's how you build confidence, by leaning into that. There's no secret sauce. You just have to believe in yourself. But you're like overlooking the things that made you who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And the gifts that you already have, the power that you already have. Yeah.
Like, I'm funny, not today, maybe, but like, that's a gift I have. Yeah. But like, that's why I named the book Silly, because I actually enjoy being funny and, you know, whatever. But I didn't obviously change the name. But like, lean into your gifts, man. Like,
listen, I think that's the second title of the second book.
What?
Just being silly. Live life. Live life, be silly. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, well, if I do that, I'll give you all the royalties, all the things.
No, do not. You hold on to it. You can have that for free, my friend. You can have that for free.
Wow, this is the best day of my life. Well, actually, talking to you is always fun because we get so riled up because we're like so passionate about what we do. Like, let's just not forget that we're in this business because we just want to help people.
100%.
Right. And so it isn't that you work with us directly, it's that you do the work, whether it's with us or somebody else. I think the other thing about what we do now is we're not pods. Like, it isn't just mine or yours, it's enough for everybody. And that is a new belief system for me too, because I used to think that success was measurable, but it's actually immeasurable.
Oh, absolutely. And the true nature of success is not on how much I've done it myself, but how much we've done it together, right?
Yeah. And it's still something I struggle with, if we're being real. Like, there are some days I'm like, am I actually successful? Like, and then I have to like hit myself or some sort of something and say, hey, you're living the life. I like created this new life for myself.
Yeah.
And I get to show up and help people live more powerfully, live more authentically. I mean, is there anything more important than that?
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, isn't that what we do?
100%, 100%. Listen, I could talk to you forever.
Oh, I know we probably are going over time. Sorry.
I could talk to you forever, but what I want to ask you, finally, is that if somebody is listening to this today that's done with corporate life, that's had enough, what guidance or advice would you give them?
I think it's a loaded question.
Yeah. Sorry.
Because the answer for me would be why.
Yeah.
Not how do I get you to the next step? Because what brought you to this point? Because that's what we have to solve for. Not that. That's where we need to dive in to make sure I want to be succinct, but I think I would start with why.
Cool.
You know, your why is the most important question to ask yourself.
Absolutely. Was there not an organization in Japan who adopted the 5 Why program? I don't know if it was Toyota or one of these car manufacturers that had this program. And anybody across the organization could ask the question, why? Why are we doing that process in this way? Or why is it done in that way? And if the question was asked, production would stop and they would reflect on the reason why they did it in that way. And if a different process could be found, they adopted it.
Right. I mean, if somebody had said, why do you want to leave your job? Unless they got to know me, they wouldn't have known that it's because I needed to start believing in myself, that I was worth more than what I was getting out of it. So I think it is a really important question, and leaning to your gifts. So I appreciate that you brought me on today. I hope I didn't ramble too much, but I'm so passionate about what we do.
I know, and I can feel that, and I can feel that, right? Your passion ignites my passion, and together we create
and vice versa. Yes,
synergy and this energy constantly, which is brilliant, even though we are thousands of miles apart. You know, And at some stage in the future, that's going to change.
Oh, we're going to meet in person, and I am honored to be your guest today. And I think anybody that's listening to your podcast, just your energy and what you do and bring to the world is a gift. And so I thank you.
Thanks, Donna. And I'm honored to be your friend, colleague, supporter, your reader of your amazing, amazing book, Unsuccessfully Successful. I don't know my left from right. See, when it's opposite, it's crazy in my head. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you've not read Unsuccessfully Successful yet, please get out and purchase a copy today, and give Donna an amazing Christmas present in going to #1 in terms of the bestseller list for Christmas, because this is a bestseller. This is the #1 book that I think should be in everybody's library, in everybody's locker, and everybody should take a read of it.
I actually have a heart because I do a really bad job doing that. So thank you.
Yeah, so do I. My finger's getting away, I think.
That's why I got one.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Donna, obviously your book is available through your own website, right?
And on Amazon is probably the best place to get it.
On
I
Amazon.
have a journal that goes with it. Now, say it like it is, so that people can keep track of things as they read the book.
Okay. What's coming up next for you, Donna? Is there a book? There's a book 2 in the works, right?
There's a book 2. You gave me the title, so I'm going to start working on that. I am, when I'm playing with it, creating a Facebook group called the Confidence Club, because really what I work on every day is confidence in yourself. So that'll be coming out within the next month or so. I have a corporate leadership development program in the fall, and I'm just going to keep on writing and keep on showing up.
Absolutely, and keep on just being you, because being you is absolutely amazing, Donna. And you are truly amazing, wonderful individual, and I know your pop will be well proud of you.
Thank you. Now you are going to make me cry, but thank you.
I'm not.
My dad didn't know what I did for a living. I think he might have actually understood this.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're absolutely welcome, Donna. It's been a pleasure to have you on Wellbeing with Seamus this afternoon. And listen, I wish you all the best with your life, work, career. I can't wait.
Well, you're not done with me yet. I mean, we're connected for life.
Oh, we're absolutely, yeah. On this platform, obviously, I have to press stop on the recording, but we're.
I know, no. Thank you so much for having me.
We are definitely not done, my girl. So enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend when it comes. It's Friday.
Thank you.
Happy Friday. And, I wish you well.
I wish you well too. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.